Hello and good day. This is Boles TV. It's BOLES, not TV. It's Boles.television coming to you live and in person from the East Coast of these United States. And when you live stream by yourself, you're your own show, your own director, your own producer, your own superstar, you have to deal with a lot of technical things, shall we say. And OBS, our streaming software, updated itself and then refused to update itself and then refused to acknowledge our proper camera. And then we set up the right camera and then it froze. And then you unfreeze it by unplugging the camera and plugging the camera back in. And then it decides it wants to use a different camera. So we have to, sit here and find our center, get focused. Yes. And hope that it doesn't keep focusing like that because it's very weird. Now, the reason we have it focusing like that is so I can show you things up close. When we have regular autofocus off, and we just have a static field of view, then I can't show you things like this that are fun things. Now, is that showing you that or not? That's a little blurry. And I don't know why. We'll try something else. Sometimes text, it's a better read than a piece of artwork. So this will start back here. And as we go closer here. And the beta test we're doing for our camera software keeps putting my eye over the artwork, which is very weird, but also very fun. This is a software we're using from NVIDIA. We are testing it for them, where it makes my eyes look at you, even if I'm, looking down or looking around. It makes eye contact, so I can be, looking at the time or looking at the light, and it still looks like I'm looking directly at you. A little weird, little uncanny valley. That's what we do here. We have fun. We test new things. We fail. Do we fail more than we succeed? Not really. We do have a little bit more success than we think we do, which is a good thing. So many things to have a discussion about. Weekend weather, a little hot, New York City area, hot and windy. Now, hot and breezy is really very nice. But when it's hot, humid, and really windy, it's like being air fried, I imagine. Your natural skin oils come out and the whole of you just bakes. I'm very sensitive to the sun because I have this kind of skin. It's all messed up. And we were outside just standing in the sun to get some vitamin D the natural way for about 10 minutes. Came back home, my whole face was all red. Not burned, but you could tell I'd been out in the sun. And once you get that burn, there's really nothing you can do about it. It just sort of stays with you for the rest of the afternoon. So we're going to talk about some AI, some security issues. And a lot of people really don't understand AI. They think it's a threat. They think it's a joke. They think it's foolish. I think of AI as, sort of a research assistant without any advertising right now. So I don't want to say it's like Google without the ads, because the responses you get back are much more precise and interesting than what you get with plain vanilla Google. So over the weekend, my beloved Jana Marie Sweetheart and I ventured out into the world of Apple television, and we found that John Wick 4 was now available. I guess it's been out for 2 months, and now it goes straight to rental for, I think you buy first. They want you to buy it for $20, and then I think next week or the next week or two, then you can rent it for $5. Now, I've never really understood that, especially if it's an interesting film, an important film that you perhaps want to watch a couple, 3 times between now and forever. Why not just buy it? Why rent something? Now, music's a little different. It's more ephemeral. It's more ubiquitous. You can, rent your music wherever you go. Watching something on television is an event that you have to plan for, at least within your day. So I'm going to be talking about structure and details about John Wick 4. If you are not interested in knowing about John Wick 4, if you have not seen the movie, don't listen. Don't turn off the stream. Just go out for about 20 minutes and then come back. So I've warned you, we're going to talk about what happened in the movie. So if you're leaving the room, I'll give you until 3, 2, 1, begin. I love the John Wick movies. I appreciate Keanu Reeves in the John Wick role. And as with almost every movie series, the first movie is always the best. That's why if you're going to make a movie, make one and be done with it. Don't turn it into a franchise, because it usually doesn't work out very well in the end. So Keanu is not a great actor, doesn't have a lot of range, wonderful person, and he will admit all of that to you, except being with a wonderful person, because he's very humble. But he'll tell you he's not a great actor, not really classically trained, doesn't have a lot of training. The best movie that Keanu Reeves made in everything he'd ever done was Speed. Natural, heroic, interesting, dangerous. You just love the guy. And that to me means he had a really, really good director. A director who helped him find the through line of a character. He's playing these angels or John Wick, and he has to, rely on his acting skills, the Ted Adventure thing. Not really great. Even the Matrix stuff, the early stuff, he's very good, but not very interesting as an actor. As a character, okay. But as an actor, character, story, everything comes together, Speed for Keanu. It's a wonderful movie. And Dennis Hopper's great, Sandra Bullock's great. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. So the very first John Wick took the world by surprise. People were very impressed with the director and with Keanu. A lot of violence. But it was fun. And then you had the second John Wick, which was not as good as the first. Then you had the sort of ridiculous third John Wick, which was not as good as the first or the second. And now we have the fourth John Wick, which is not as good as the first, second, or third. So it's progressively getting worse in surprise and storytelling. And you watch John Wick to watch him kill people. That's the whole reason for going to the movie. And in the way that he kills everybody. Now, the first John Wick was all surprise. He's murdering people because someone killed his dog. Fabulous. It works in the first movie. And then, you hear about it in the second and the third and the fourth, and it's, okay, we get it. He's a little nutty. Now, John Wick 4, when they were discussing making it, and I don't know if Keanu was really thrilled with making a John Wick 4, and in 2 years he'll be 60 years old, so there may not be a John Wick 5. But when it was first announced, they were going to make 2 movies, John Wick 4 and John Wick 5, and to save money and time, as these big productions often do, they were going to film both of those, 4 and 5, back to back, which is a long haul for, Keanu and his athleticism. I mean, he uses a body double a lot. And and he has a very good body double in the John Wick movies. And you know it's the body double because when he's doing something, his hair is in his face or his arm is covering his face. That's how you always know if it's a stunt double, because they're very, very, very clever, magicians really, at hiding their face. That's the first thing I look for. And when Keanu does his own stunts and punches and kicks, and it's really him, his face is in full, beautiful view. So you know, hey, that's Keanu doing that. So these movies, I understand, are very physical, very tiring. And then, I guess, when they started making the movie, what was it, 2021? They decided to only do John Wick 4. Now, there was a big hullabaloo. They were doing 4 and 5, so all of us sort of fans were like, oh my goodness, we're going to get, a John Wick movie in 2023, and then probably the next one in 2024, 25. Excitement. The franchise continues. The killing shall not be abated. So we're all watching. Hey, it's Baby J. Hi, Baby Jana. That's a good point. There's a person that hides his face a lot when doing heavy stunts. Right. And you can see that in a lot of movies. Because if actors have to fall or get pushed, they cannot risk the actor being hurt. And I watched over the weekend some of these old Twilight Zone movies, TV shows, not the movies. And they were very rough. And people fell hard, like on their heads and their shoulders and fight scenes. And it's not the actor, it's a stunt double. But the stunt double is really being really physical. And it looks like they're hurt. But they seem to be okay. So it's nice to have Jana Marie here today. Hello, baby. So Keanu does his own stunts. He's getting older. The director and Keanu, the story goes, decided that John Wick 4, while they're making the movie, would be the last one. ... For now. ... Wink, wink, wink. ... Okay, that's fine. But it doesn't seem like the movie producers, the people who pay all the bills and get all the money, it doesn't seem like they were very interested in having John Wick 4 be the final one. So, can they make a John Wick without Keanu? I don't know. Would a John Wick 5 with a, 60-year-old Keanu coming back from the dead to avenge something, that would be interesting. So the decision was made, if you're not going to have a 5, 4 can be the last movie, or at least hint at the last movie. And in John Wick 4, John Wick dies at the end. And nobody believes that he's dead. Now, you ask Keanu, and you ask the director, and they say, oh yeah, he's dead, he's in a grave. What do you mean? It's right there. But the end scene, Lawrence Fishburne's laughing, and then the really hardcore John Wick fans say, well, the sneak ending of the blind assassin holding flowers. Jana Marie says she refused to believe he's dead. Right. He can't be dead. You can't have John Wick and be dead. It ruins every story we've had. John Wick doesn't die. John Wick kills people. He doesn't care about resting. He doesn't care about being free. He doesn't care about any of that. John Wick wants to go out and kill people. That's what he does. He doesn't want to retire. He doesn't want to, play with his dog all the time. He wants to go out and shoot. That's what he does. He's a killer. He's an assassin. And nobody's going to beat John Wick. And so this added scene of the violets with the blind man going to finally, I guess, I don't want to say see, but to visit his violin-playing daughter. And then we see the other daughter whose father was killed by this assassin with a knife, and she's going to go keep her word and kill him. And then the hardcore fans say, but right after we see her pull that knife, that as the actor with the flowers is going this way, someone steps in front of him, and we can't see who it is. And that person who steps in front of him, then the blind assassin smiles with recognition. As if to say to us, the audience, that's John Wick warning his friend. Don't do it. Don't walk like that because you're going to be stabbed with a knife. And people say, oh, well, this is John Wick 4 is the jumping off point for the blind man to have his John Wick series, or the young woman with the knife to have her John Wick series. Nobody wants that. People want Keanu shooting people. So the story is very long. It's 2 hours and 53 minutes, I think. It's an hour too long. Hour and a half, 2 hours, much better story. But you can tell that there's a bit of exuberance going on with, I guess, the director, that this is the final one. Let's just take everything we've ever done and put it into one movie and say goodbye to everybody, wrap it up, and go home. That's the feeling you get, because if you've seen all the other John Wicks, and I have multiple times, you're going to recognize a lot of these scenes. There's a scene of killing and shooting in an art museum. We saw that in a previous John Wick. It's back in number 4. You see a nightclub / rave chase through shooting, killing. We saw that before in John Wick. First John Wick, and now the 4th John Wick. Same thing, same vibe. You say, I've seen this before. The blind assassin. It seems like now they like to make John Wick movies where disabled people are the ultra villains. And there was a previous John Wick, was number 3, terrible, where a hearing woman played a deaf assassin, and John Wick killed her. And it wasn't very interesting, and Keanu's signing was terrible. And the actress who was playing the deaf role, her signing was terrible. The whole idea was just jokey and kitschy, and it didn't feel right. We have John Wick falling off a building. In John Wick 3, we have the same thing, a big, long, terrible fall off a building in John Wick 4, and down a row of stairs again and again and again. And then we have the Halle Berry role, where she had these 2 dogs that she had trained to attack people. Halle Berry's not in John Wick 4, but there is a black actor, a man, his name is Tracker, and he has 1 dog, not 2, that he has trained to go fight for him and kill people. So we've seen all of these beats before. We've seen all these things happen before. The art museum fight, the blowing up of the buildings, Keanu falling, disabled villains, dogs. It all just feels like, well, let's just wrap all this up, put it in one big ball, and call it the end. John Wick 1, 2, 3 becomes John Wick 4. And in some ways, the only movie you need to see, really, is John Wick 4, because the other 3 are sort of repeated and rinsed in John Wick 4, and then John Wick 4 dies. And the sad thing about him dying is we have rooted, oddly, the anti-hero for John Wick to go out and kill people in John Wick 1, 2, and 3. That's what you do. You watch the movie, Keanu goes out and shoots all the bad guys. So if you allow your hero to be dead, to be shot off, never to resurrect again, you've ruined your franchise. Now, if this is like a coy ploy to, buy 5 years so the director can go make other movies other than John Wick movies, and so Keanu can go out and rest or do other movies that he would like to do, okay. But I don't think it helps the franchise. I don't think it helps the veracity of the situation for Keanu and the director to play coy with the media and say, oh, no, he's dead. You saw the movie, right? He's in a grave. I don't think that helps because I don't think people believe them. So that's my John Wick review. If I were giving it, out of 10, I think a 4. And I love the character. I really do love Keanu. And there were a couple of things that were new in John Wick 4 that I will give them credit for. They have now realized that if John Wick can buy, a Kevlar suit that looks good, so can everyone else in the world of John Wick. And they do. They go like this, boom, 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 to block bullets. Very inventive. They do what Keanu John Wick does, which is, raise part of your coat as a cape to reflect bullets. And the exploding gun with fire was new, fun. And then the overhead shot, where they would go room to room following Keanu shooting people with the fire gun, that was inventive and interesting. So having everyone have bulletproof clothes really equalized the whole movie, because the only way you could kill somebody was with a headshot, which is pretty gruesome. But that's the way John Wick by himself has always killed people in 1, 2, and 3, and everybody else seems to, aim for the abdomen. Didn't really work very well. So that's the John Wick review. Now we're going to talk about safety on the internet. And we've discussed passwords before and how important they are to keep you and all of your information safe. Now, we use a password manager. There are a couple of them. There's one from Proton. There's 1Password. There's BitLocker, I think is another one. And what you do is you create one super long, very complicated password to open up a file, a very hard encrypted file that has every other password that you ever use within it. And then instead of having to remember 200 passwords of important places, you only have to remember one, your master password. And then your master password app fills in all of your passwords. It's really very smart and wonderful, and not a lot of people do it because people don't want that alleged hassle. And so what people tend to do is to reuse the same password in all of their secure sites. So if the bad people guess once and get it right, then they often have access to, your bank account, your phone account, your cable account. They can just get in everywhere, where all of those should have different and unique passwords. So here's an interesting graphic that was sent to me over the weekend. This is from, the Hive, hivesystems.io password. And this is a very interesting chart, and you've heard people talk about this before, but they finally put it into a chart where you can read it and it makes sense. The time it takes for a hacker using a computer to brute force your password in 20 and 23. Okay, brute force means I am attaching a computer device to your computer or your phone, and I'm going to have the computer run a program that tries millions and millions of password sequences until I can see if I can unlock your phone or your computer or your front door. So if your password has 4 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, don't use that, of numbers only, how long would it take for a hacker to break in? Instantaneously. Snap of a finger. Lowercase letters for 4-character password? Instantly. Upper and lowercase letters? 4. Instantly. Numbers, upper, lowercase letters? Instantly. Numbers, upper, lowercase symbols? Instantly. So if you only have a 4-character password, you're going to be in trouble. And the same thing for a 5-character password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what that means. Same thing for a 6-character password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Instantly across the board. Now, if you get into a 7-character password that has a variety, let's say of upper and lowercase, 1 second, 2 seconds, 4 seconds. So this chart shows you how quickly your phone, let's say phone, can be broken into. So it looks like the sweet spot that I would say for good safety, where it would take 3 years, right here, 3 years to crack your password, consisting of numbers, upper and lowercase letters, and symbols. Now, some websites, because they're old and antiquated, they won't let you use symbols, like an exclamation point or a period or a number sign. So right then, they're telling you, look, our website is not as secure as it could be because we're lazy. So 3 years, all that mixing, and how long is it? 3 years, 11. Number of characters. So that means you have to have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Upper, lowercase, letters and numbers plus a symbol. And it would take the bad person, the police, your mother, your mother-in-law, 3 years using software to crack your password. Now, if you just go to 12, upper, lowercase numbers, symbols, letters, it will take 6 years if you just use upper and lowercase letters. So if you can, instead of just having a 4-character password, if you could have a 12-character password using upper and lowercase letters, it's the difference between instant and 6 years. And if you go all the way over, it'll take 226 years if you use numbers, upper, lowercase, letters, and symbols for a 12-character password. Now, there are some websites out there that will not allow you to go above 13 characters. Now, I routinely use at least 23 characters because I don't have to remember it. I just have my password generator generate a random password of letters, number, uppercase, lowercase, and symbols, and it puts it in there, and I'm ready to go. And I often get stopped by these websites saying, hey, wait a minute, you can't go more than 13 characters. You can't go more than 8 characters. You have to take out the symbols. So what do you do with a website like that? And a lot of these are commerce websites. You're buying something, not really banking, not a place like, Apple, Google, Microsoft. They know what a good password is. It's the small businesses that are probably running on older equipment. They haven't updated their website very well, but they're still selling. They're popular. And they don't know that you need to have a lot of characters and a lot of variety to beat the system. Now, when do you get your first in this password thing? When do you get your first green box? Well, the first green box is 48 billion years. Now, that's pretty darn good. 48 billion years for numbers, upper, lowercase letters. Okay, no symbols. And your password has to be 17 characters. So it's not that much harder to have a 12-character password, to have a 17-character password, because look how it complicates it. They will never guess your password in 48 billion years. You would have 47 billion years to protect your money market account. So it's really important to protect what you have and what you own based on these ideas of password security. Now, this popped up just this morning from my good friend Bruce Shiner. Force, right? We just talked about brute force. That's where a hacker connects a computer to your laptop, desktop, phone. So what about a fingerprint reader? A lot of computers have them. Apple computers have them. Dell computers have them. IBM computers have them. Android phones have them. Apple phones read your fingerprint. Is it secure? Well, this is what Bruce writes and shares. Unlike password authentication, which requires a direct match between what is inputted and what is stored in a database, fingerprint authentication determines a match using a reference threshold. Now, in the movies, you've seen, Mission Impossible. They take your fingerprint and they put a piece of tape over it. They peel it off. They put dust on it, and then they hold it up to the thing and it lets you in. As a result, a successful fingerprint brute force attack requires only that an inputted image provides an acceptable approximation of an image in the fingerprint database. So that doesn't mean it has to be an exact match. That means it needs to be close enough and it will unlock. Brute print, it's the name of the hacker software, whatever, manipulates the false acceptance rate, the FAR, to increase the threshold so fewer approximate images are accepted. Brute print acts as an adversary in the middle between the fingerprint sensor and the trusted execution environment. Okay, so the fingerprint sensor on your phone is the thing that reads your fingerprint, and the trusted execution environment is the unlocking of your iPhone. That's what that means. And then brute print is in the middle of that, interpreting your fingerprint and then getting verification that it's a good print to save. And the trusted execution environment and exploits vulnerabilities that allowed for unlimited guesses. In a brute print attack, a fingerprint attack, the adversary removes the back cover of the device and attaches the $15 circuit board that has the fingerprint database loaded in the flash storage. The adversary then must convert the database into a fingerprint dictionary that's formatted to work with a specific sensor used by the target phone. Now, who's doing this? Spies, the police, the FBI, bad people. Everybody wants to get into your phone. Your mother, your mother-in-law. The process uses a neural style transfer when converting the database into the usable dictionary. This process increases with the chances of a match. With the fingerprint dictionary in place, not a perfect match, but a general match, the adversary device is now in a position to input each entry into the targeted phone. Normally, a protection known as an attempt limiting effectively locks a phone after a set number of failed login attempts are reached. And our iPhone does that. If you can set it that if there are like 3, wrongly inputted passwords or fingerprints or face recognitions, then it just locks itself, and you have to enter a different kind of password. But brute print can fully bypass that limit that you set in the 8 tested Android models, meaning the adversary device can try an infinite number of guesses to get your fingerprint correct. On 2 iPhones, the attack can expand the number of guesses to 15, 3 times higher than the 5 permitted before your phone gets locked and you have to go through an unlock process. The bypasses result from exploiting what the researchers said are 2 zero-day vulnerabilities in the smartphone fingerprint authentication framework of virtually all smartphones. The vulnerabilities, one known as CAMF, cancel after match fail, and the other MAL, match after lock, result from logic bugs in the authentication framework. Nothing's perfect, nothing's safe, especially when you have bad people out there who are always trying to get around things, break things, and find out things about you. It's a concern. CAMF exploits and invalidates the checksum of transmitted fingerprint data. And MAL exploits infer matching results through side channel attacks. Depending on the model, the attack takes between 40 minutes and 14 hours. So if the police have your phone and they have this brute force software and they can keep your phone for 14 hours, they're going to unlock your phone. As well, the ability of brute print to successfully hijack fingerprints stored on Android devices, but not iPhones, is the result of one simple design difference. iOS, Apple phones, encrypts the data, and Android, a Google phone, does not. That's a little horrifying. And here's a comment. The issue with the implementation of fingerprint readers on smartphones is one of duplicity. Because the capture area is so small, the reading device stores multiple partial measurements. Thus, one fingerprint signature may actually multiple acceptable templates stored. The usability feature was exploited by the New York University Tandon School of Engineering. I personally am a fan of the fingerprint slide scanner since it reads a larger print and leaves no latent residue to capture. So that's an interesting point. And when you do your fingerprint, thumbprint iPhone thing, is you roll your finger, you go up and down, all around, all kinds of, it's just not this, your fingerprint. They can't do anything with that. So they want to capture this little section and that little section, this little section, that little section. So they have all these pieces of your fingerprint that appear to be verifiable in themselves, but they pretend to make up your entire fingerprint. So let's say 1/5 of your fingerprint is enough from the puzzle to unlock your phone. That's terrifying. Let's click on this link and see where it takes us. NYU Machine Learning masters the fingerprint to fool biometric systems from 2018. So they've been working on this for a long time. So that is the fear of these attacks, and they're called brute force attacks. They're not called, friendly hellos. These are people who want your information. These are people who are trying to steal Bitcoin. These are people, not really people who are trying to harass grandma and grandpa. They don't need to do that. They don't need to brute force their phone. They just call them on the phone and say, your grandson is in trouble, go get $500 worth of Apple music cards and send them to me. Read them to me over the phone. Now, these are sophisticated things where, the police want to break into a criminal's phone, or the FBI's, doing research on somebody's phone. These are people who want to steal $4 million in Bitcoin. So it's very difficult because the bad actors have a lot of good software and a lot of very important equipment behind them. And they're coming after you, and they're very talented, and they know all about you. So if you don't have any money, the small-time imitators who may have access to this, software that they just buy and download on the internet might be able to get in and might not. But if you are the focus of a targeted attack from a group of hackers or from a nation state like Russia, good luck fighting against them, because they have all the power and all of the information in their court. And sometimes, even like a cell phone, if you don't have your cell phone, locked down with your provider, people can, try to change the SIM and steal your phone. And a lot of people use their phone as a verification system for, like, their bank. And the bad guys know that. All they have to do is call up the telephone company, give them a big story that they practiced, rehearsed, found success, and sometimes they get lucky and the customer service representative will unlock the phone. So have a PIN code on your phone, lock it down, do not transfer out, put all the barriers you can, because they might not even be enough. You've got to be protective of your own interests. Now, hey, speaking of AI, Bob Lefsetz is one of our favorite guys. And, we talked earlier about how AI people are either scared of it, or they think it's ridiculous, or they don't know what to do about it. And so Bob wrote a really interesting article about AI. And he's old like me. He has a lot of history in the music business and the concert business. And this is his brief take on AI and what it means. AI is 2023's NFT. Everyone's talking about it, few understand it, and the effect will be nowhere near as large as perceived. Well, that's not exactly right, Bob writes. Ultimately, AI will have a big effect, but right now everybody is scared. It's very true. You mentioned you're interested in AI, and people think, you're either stealing images or that you want the computer to take over the world. It's not like you're, enjoying it and, making a business out of it and maybe even, shall we say, having fun with it. Yes, Bob says they've seen too many science fiction movies. The machines are going to take over the world. They're going to kill all the people. And Bob says, hogwash. First and foremost, you're already using AI. And I make this point to people all the time. If you're using an iPad or using a computer, there's AI, the idea, the implementation of AI all around you. When your iPhone tells you how long it will take to return to your point of departure, even though you didn't ask it to, that's AI. Or when your phone suggests what apps you should use, that's AI. Bob says AI makes life easier, not worse, but what's important here is holding back the future. Let's start with the writers, Bob says, who've been screwed since day one, disrespected. If the machines can write the scripts, let them, because every talented person knows they cannot write good ones. AI is not a good script writer. Absolutely true. AI doesn't have an imagination. Because every talented person knows they cannot write good ones. As for cleaning up, adding to an AI-written script, rewrites are worth a fortune and take less time. Furthermore, you can't take a turd and turn it into chocolate pudding. It just remains a turd. Put a BMW body on a Ford chassis and it may look like a BMW. It might even be a car, but will it be able to drive the way a BMW drives? And the answer is no. So Bob says everybody's afraid. First and foremost, they're going to lose their job. Makes me crazy. No one can sacrifice. How can we move forward? All your anti-free traders out there want to be like some South American country that legislates the people. You must only use things created in our country, even if it's inferior. And that, Bob says, is one of the great things about America. You can buy and use all kinds of products, whatever you like, whatever you want to pay for, you can have it. And since many are made overseas, they're cheap and sometimes also expensive. Bob continues, AI, like in the legal business, it used to be there were secretaries who did all the typing. Now the lawyers do it themselves, and there is no typing pool. This is really before even AI. But being able to edit on a computer, that's a godsend. All those young typists doing a mindless job, they're free to do something more interesting to help the company. They can be more productive. They can be more involved in the tech field that displaced them. What about a drum machine in music? Bob says. Suddenly everyone can make a record at home. They don't need a live drummer. And we start having hits that were made at home, sometimes by one person, all impossible without the drum machine. And all the studio gigs for drummers and other players declined to almost nothing when labels stopped laying out all that money for all that time in commercial studios. So Bob's point is AI does simplify some things, but it also frees up more money to do better and push the music forward in newer and interesting ways. There was an article over the weekend about a lawyer went to court suing an airline on behalf of a man who got hit in the knee with a beverage cart. Okay? And the attorney for the injured man presented a brief to the court that was completely written by ChatGPT. And it was all wrong. All the cases were made up. And you clicked on a link to follow them, and there was no case. Made up all the rationale. Now, I know never to do that, to trust a result like that, because I deal with Google a lot. And Google gets things wrong. Google has bad information. So you always check what the AI, the computer, the Google sends you, because sometimes it's really no good. And this lawyer didn't do it. He just copy and pasted from what ChatGPT told him and put it into this brief and got into big trouble for it. And he apologized to the courts that it'll never happen again. I don't know how this happened. I don't know why it happened. And we all know he ran out of time, didn't want to hire a researcher, didn't want to take his time to research himself what the computer was telling him was the truth when it was just made up. I ran into that problem over the weekend. Jan and Marie and I are working on a very super secret, top secret, special project. And we're trying to get to find the right people, because we want to send them an email, because if you can, you're not going to talk to anybody on the phone anymore. No one wants to listen to you. You're probably not going to get an in-person meeting, because unless there's a need for it, because people don't want to be bothered. So you really have to pitch them in an email. Now, most big companies have what they call general mailboxes. I call them black holes, where you send an email to them and it says, oh, thank you so much for your email. We'll process this and get right back to you, right? And then you never hear from them again. So you have to avoid the general email box if you can, but you should include it, because sometimes real people do read it and forward it to the right person. So you want to try to get specific email addresses for specific people or positions in a company. Good companies have, staff pages and says, here's their phone number, here's their website address, and here's their email address. And you can reach them. That's forward thinking. But there are other companies that have been slowly dragged into the future, into the AI future, and they don't want people bothering them, sending them email. Well, if you have an important project that is more important than you as a singular self, you want to try to reach as many points of contact as possible, and then let them, we hope, manage the forwarding to the right person, because you can't find the right person because they won't let you find the right person on their website. So I asked ChatGPT for the specific names and public email addresses of people at this organization. And ChatGPT, in several different ways, because you can access ChatGPT in several different ways, came back and said, that's a violation of privacy. We cannot help you with this. And I had already done all my online search, and I had a pretty good idea that what I had maybe was half right. And this morning it proved out to be about half right. Half my emails bounced back. The other half appeared to go through, which is 50-50, and I'll take that all day. So I thought, okay, ChatGPT's having an attitude with me because I'm not asking for personal, private violations. I'm saying, help me find the contact person for this specific thing in this company. Wouldn't do it. So I tried to rephrase. I said, what is the public web page, contact page for this company if I were interested in this? And then it came back. I have 3 different versions of ChatGPT, 4 actually. And one of them came back and said, oh, here's the email address. And I looked at it, and it looked very perfect to me, like something at company. And I hadn't found that in any of my research. So I said, where did you get that email address? Give me the link. Give me the citation. And immediately ChatGPT came back and said, well, I made a mistake. That's not the email address. I'm sorry. And left it at that. And I said, right back, I said, did you make that up? I'm so sorry. I was confused. ChatGPT saying, I was confused, and I didn't know. So then I said, well, can you find me the right email address? Yes, here it is. I found it. Different email address. But again, it looked suspiciously perfect. And I said, where did you get this email address? What's the, information, URL? Give me the citation. Well, I don't want to say I did it again, but there's something going on. I don't know what it is. And if you talk to ChatGPT long enough, and I hope to get that today, but I'm running out of time. If you talk to ChatGPT long enough, it begins to mimic you, and it begins to mirror you, and sometimes have a little attitude. Now, I don't treat it like a person. I just treat it like my research assistant, and I'm very polite. I say thank you and please, and do you mind? And it's very polite back. But when it starts lying to you and making things up and admitting it, if I had just, been like that lawyer and taken the first, response back and said, oh, thank you so much, this is the email address, it would have bounced right back in my face. So then I asked again, and finally, about the 5th time of going back and forth, asking for evidence of proof, I did actually get 2 unique email addresses that it was able to find on a verifiable website with the verifiable link in the text that I, as a human being, had overlooked and or missed in my attempt to find the correct email address contact for this company. So AI can be a wonderful, fantastic research assistant if you know what to ask, how to ask it, and never trust an answer without asking for verification and a citation. Those are my tricks, my tips for surviving in an AI world when you're just a regular, dumb old human being like me. I thank you so much for being here today. I've enjoyed your company. I appreciate you. I will see you again. We're going to continue this AI conversation because, as the song says, we've only just begun to live. Until next time, take care, be well. I'll see you soon. Bye.